Hi there. In this video, we'll be covering writing and publishing your own book. It can be overwhelming to think about the book writing and publishing process. Believe me, it is so worth it. Bringing your book forward can be so empowering and so special, but it helps to follow the tips in this video. By the end of this video, you'll learn the power of self-publishing, why you can actually generate more revenue from self-publishing than traditionally publishing, and the steps you need to take to go from writing to bringing your book forward. And stay tuned until the end of the video for an opportunity I really think you're going to enjoy. Let's dive in. Writing and publishing your own book is an awesome, challenging process. It will stress you and test you at every turn. It will bring up and surface all of your fears and your insecurities and your doubts. If you follow the tips in this video, you're going to be really empowered by your message, by sharing it with the world. It's just an awesome thing to be able to own your story. Maybe you don't feel like you own your story now, but by bringing your book forward, by bringing your message forward, you're going to be able to own your story in a new way. Simply put, self-publishing equals power. Yes, a lot of times people look down on self-publishing. They think about traditionally publishing as the way to go. And traditional publishing involves a literary agent and a publisher signing off to work with you. You typically get paid in advance up front against future royalties. Over time, as you sell a bunch of copies of the book, you'll make the money back. So it can be really nice to traditionally publish, especially for a media standpoint, a visibility standpoint. You get your book in bookstores and other places. But there's other drawbacks. You really don't have control. And this is your baby, this is your book. You want control over that process. You want to pick when it gets published, the final cover, even the title. There's so many different things that are out of your control when you traditionally publish. The other thing to keep in mind is this. Traditionally published authors often don't make as much money as self-published authors do. And here's why. When you traditionally publish and you get that money up front, it's a nice thing. You don't have to pay to publish the book. Self-publishing is different. With self-publishing, you're paying out of pocket to cover the cost of publishing. But then you can start making money on every book sold, and a higher percentage of every book sold will go directly to you instead of to the publisher and the agent and everybody else. So there's actually a higher percentage of book sales that will go to you if you self-publish. And that's why a lot of authors do end up self-publishing, especially those with a good platform, because they know how to sell their book to their audience. They don't need a traditional publisher to do that. I've worked with traditional publishers on a handful of projects, and the reason why, there's a credibility standpoint. When you traditionally publish, it speaks to a more mainstream audience, but at the same time, I didn't have a huge platform, so it was important for me to get that platform help and the promotional help from the publisher. But there's a loss of control, and there's things that are out of your control, and there could be diminished money-making potential in the end. Self-publishing has really improved, and I think there's really not a difference today between high-quality self-publishing and traditional publishing, because professionals like me work on both types of projects. They're interchangeable. They're both the same. But you get to have control over all these aspects of it. Even if it costs a little money out of pocket, it really pays to have that control and be able to sell your book wherever you want to, including your website. So I'm a big fan of self-publishing. Most of the books that I've worked on have been self-published. And it's awesome for the authors I work with to see the potential of it. One of the authors I worked with, his name is Jonathan Stanley. And I worked as a writing coach with him for a couple months. He had a full draft. Kind of punched it up a little bit with him, ironed it out. He had a viral moment at a book signing in 2025, early 2025, at a bookstore in Pennsylvania where he lives, and his book went viral. His story went viral, his book went viral. He was in number 9 on the Amazon bestseller list for paperback nonfiction for a whole week. He was outselling Dr. Seuss at one point, which was really cool. His book was Purposeful Performance, and it was about bringing meaning and purpose back to the workplace. That far too often people are just a number, and they're just kind of looked past. And, it pulled from Jonathan's own struggles, being, laid off and seeing his business, being pulled apart after it got bought by another company. And he was devastated and crushed. And he used that and channeled that into his writing. And to take that sadness and struggle and turn it into a message that resonated with people. Just an awesome thing. His book was self-published. His book was self-published, and he sold 12,000 copies of it in a week. So he gets more opportunities coming out of that than if he had, tried to get a traditional deal and they made changes to it. He did it himself, and it was really empowering to see a self-published book reach those kind of heights, but it's possible. The thing to keep in mind is this is your book. This is your decision. What are you writing about? How you're writing it. The voice that you're using. It's all yours. Yours, yours, yours. Don't give any of those things away. Don't give your writing voice away. Don't use ChatGPT to write your book. I'm not saying don't use ChatGPT. It can be a great tool for planning and for outlining and all these other things. I use it all the time to come up with ideas. But don't use it to write your book, because the voice that you use to write, the voice that really carries forward, that's what makes your book worth reading. That uniqueness, your presence. And at the same time, when you use ChatGPT to come up with writing for you, your writing sounds like everybody else's. It sounds flat, robotic, boring. Yeah, the writing's gotten a little bit better, but it's still based on all the stuff that's been written before. Write something new, write something different. If you're going to devote your time and energy into a book, make it stand out. Make it uniquely yours. When thinking about writing and publishing your own book, work with professionals. Whether you self-publish or traditionally publish, work with professionals. That could mean writing coaches and ghostwriters on the writing side, professional editors, professional designers. There's so many high-quality professionals out there who can make your book sound great and look great in terms of what's in it, the content, and how it looks as well. You want to work with high-quality professionals who know what they're doing, because that's going to help to hammer home the professionalism of your story and your message. You don't want somebody to pick it up and be disappointed because it's not up to their standards in terms of grammar, in terms of style, in terms of punctuation, errors. You want this thing to be clean as it can be. I know it's a struggle, and I know it's easy to get impatient. I've worked with authors who wanted to jump ahead, who wanted to just forge forward without really challenging themselves, without digging deep, without reaching out to professionals. And they put a book out into the world and it landed with a thud. It was a complete waste. It's a shame when that happens, because there was all these expectations and goals and people grew impatient. It's easy to get impatient. It's easy to focus on just jumping ahead to the finish line. Spend the time to get it right when working with professionals. You want to work with high-quality professionals because you don't know what you don't know. And other people like me who've been in this space for a while, we know what you don't know. And there's things that I don't know, but I know quite a bit, So it's a balance, but that's the thing about books. You don't know what you don't know. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed by that. And because of that, you want to surround yourself with people who do know the things, who can help steer you, who can help create a book that's going to have the biggest impact. If you want to learn more about writing and publishing your own book, there's another episode I think you should watch. I'll link to it on the screen. It's called Steps to Writing a Book. In that video, I cover how to find the book topic, how to gather information, and how to move forward with clarity on the writing process. Remember, a good book can change your life. I'm Dan Good. Thanks for watching.